Hey everybody, it's Rick Alexander, your host for today's episode. I just wanted to drop a quick line and say thank you to Gracie for having me at California Elite Training Center, where we recorded today's episode. I really had a good time, and something I want you to think about is really all of the things that Gracie had to go through in order to get where she is today. And the reason I point this out is because it's really easy for a lot of us to get caught up in why we're not successful, why we're not achieving the things that we want to, and we forget that it takes time, that it's a process. And there's a lot of people that have done really great things in this life, and they've had to overcome a lot, and I think there's a lot that we can learn from their stories, because it's easy to get frustrated when we are not successful after 1 year or 2 years or 3 years of what we're trying to do. But at the end of the day, the real success takes time. It takes a long time in order to build, not just the following, but also the skills that you need. She's retired strength athlete at this point, but she's also a world-class coach, and becoming a great anything just takes a lot of time. And it's easy for us to get caught up and feel sorry for ourselves and why we're not as successful as we want to be. And so I really want you to think about that. The things that she had to overcome in order to get where she is today are pretty extraordinary, and I think there's a lot that you and I can learn from just hearing a story like this. So I'm really excited for today's episode. I hope you guys enjoy it, because I definitely had a good time recording it. All right, thanks. All right, welcome back to another episode of Lionheart Radio. I'm your host, Rick Alexander, founder of Lua Vive, based in San Diego, California. And today I am joined by Gracie Davis, who is a powerlifting world champion, world-class strength coach, and founder of California Elite Training Center. Are you a co-founder?
Yes, sir.
You guys might follow Gracie on Instagram as Gracie Vanasse. Can you spell it?
Vanasse.
Okay. All right. You have an eclectic background, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking into what kind of we were going to do this show about, and I know that you have a very varied past. You come from a pretty different background than most people.
Yeah.
So you can kind of have a cool story there. You've had world-class coaches. I know you've been coached by AJ Roberts. Is that true?
Yep.
Okay. And then now you are definitely considered a world-class coach yourself. I think that's something really cool that people that are coming to California Elite Training Center, I guess they can kind of well, what do you have? You have CrossFit and you have powerlifting?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. So people that are coming here, they can kind of cash in on that huge background that you have. So your fitness journey started out in 2009?
Yeah, 2009. That's
Okay.
whenever I first joined the Curves.
With Curves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where it all started.
What the hell is Curves? I mean, I know I've seen it, but what do people do?
It's like a Weight Watchers kind of thing.
Okay.
It's like a circuit where I think there's 12 stations, and then there's 30 seconds in between. You're on each station for 30 seconds, and you do the circuit twice, and they're all resistance machines. You can't choose your weight or anything.
Yep.
So you just go at your own pace. And
it's mostly women, is it?
It's only women. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's only women.
So what
Usually
drove...
really older women. I was definitely the youngest person there. And I just was too intimidated to go to a gym, and I didn't know where to start, so...
Is that what kind of got you to Curves in the first place?
Yeah.
Is the intimidation factor?
Yeah, I didn't know where to start, so I just knew that. I had a couple aunts who did Curves on and off throughout the years, so I knew that it existed and that it was women only, so I did that.
It's interesting that you say that intimidation was one of the factors, because at California Elite Training Center, you have so many great athletes that come through, but you do have a lot of beginners here as well.
Yeah, we do. We have a huge group of beginner powerlifters. And most of our CrossFitters are all beginners. But 3 nights a week, I've got 2 powerlifting coaches in here, and they work with all the beginners. So,
okay,
yeah, it can be a pretty intimidating place to walk into at first. But
yeah, for sure.
One session in, yeah.
Especially if you're not in the powerlifting world already, just because it tends to be an intense.
Yeah.
You have to perform in such a short amount of time on the platform that you have to
Yeah.
It feels like you have to go from 0 to 100 just to perform, right?
Yeah.
All right, I have ADD, so I'm going to jump all over the place.
No
but
problem.
If you go back to the beginning, before Curves, I've seen a couple bios with you where you talk a little bit about drug addiction and that kind of a thing, which is interesting. I think it's really cool that you're open about that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that will hear your journey and then be, inspired to hopefully take steps in your direction. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. What do you want to know?
Well, where did it begin? Were you, I think I saw something about kind of bouncing around from different homes.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
So it started like really young. Like I grew up in a really small town. There wasn't much to do except for, get into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Like really small town, like 100 kids or less in my entire high school. Like,
where at?
Low Quebec in Western Quebec, Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's about like an hour from Ottawa.
You're the third Canadian we've had on in a week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it just started from like a really early age, just like trying to get attention and just to fit in somewhere. I'm an identical triplet, so my whole life was always like the triplets this, the triplets that, and I always wanted to like have like just to be myself and to like be noticed for me. And like the only way I knew to get noticed was like by hanging out with like older boys and using my body and getting high, and it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. Anyways, that's my story. And so yeah, it started whenever I was about like 12 years old. I think I got high for the first time when I was 12.
Okay.
And yeah, that's where it started.
Okay. And then
and then I quickly I got put into like group homes and lockdown facilities, and then I started bouncing around a lot. So I didn't live with my parents since I was 12 years old.
Okay, so that's when you kind of left out.
And then at 15 I was like in my own place, working full time, paying rent.
So and that's interesting because when did you come down to the States, or when did you first start?
When I was in 2010. Yeah, I was already clean for a couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of inspired you to kind of shed that old life, or like get clean in the first place?
Well, I had a pretty traumatic event happen to me, and one of my boyfriends was killed, and I was living with this guy for a year. He was a lot older than me, and I was using really heavily, like binging on coke. I would go like a week, and then I'd get clean for a little bit, and then I would just use steady for 3-4 days, not eat or sleep. And this was like my last year of high school. It was really bad. And yeah, he died. I had another boyfriend die, and I broke my back. I almost died. I should be crippled or dead.
Yeah.
And so that's what got me clean. Yeah.
That was that like kind of rock bottom experience.
Yeah, that
like,
was my
more.
rock bottom.
Yeah.
It happened January 18th, 2006, and I got clean October 4th, 2006. So it took me a while.
Yeah.
To to really be done with it, but that was my rock bottom whenever I broke my back.
Yeah. How did you break your back?
We jumped off the roof of our 2-story home. We were living in a beach house, and the river was frozen. It was in January. Yeah, we thought that we were like hallucinating. We thought there was like cops everywhere in our house, and we had like a cocaine psychosis where like you don't eat or sleep for so long, you just start seeing shit and hearing shit, and it's like really real.
Yeah.
At the time, like I thought it was really real. All those people that I saw, like I could still describe them to you now. Like that's how real it was at the time for me. And we jumped off I was pulled out onto the roof like through a window, and they're like, this is like the only way out. We thought there was like people in our house with guns. Yeah, and we all jumped off the roof, and I landed on my feet, and I broke my back, and he landed on his feet. His spine snapped in half, and a rib went through his heart. He died in front of me there. And so that was my rock bottom. I was 17 years old. And
so then how did you go about, like, what did you have to find another outlet to start?
I joined NA. That was
right.
What got me clean. And I mean, there's it's a pretty in-depth program where it's not like you're just putting the dope down. Like you get a really good support system and a lot of good tools to really work through the shit that got you there in the first place. So that was a good outlet for me at the time. I was just going to meetings and listening to people share their experience, strength, and hope, and that's how I did it. But then eventually, like, there was this like void inside of myself that I only knew how to fill it like by getting high. And that's whenever like I found powerlifting, and I found that I could fill it, with powerlifting. Because for a long time after I got clean, like I still like stayed clean and lived dirty, if you will. Like I was hanging around with like Hells Angels bikers. And, I wasn't getting high, and I had a clean date. It was like an honest clean date, but I was still like doing some shady fucking shit.
Was it hard to be around that though, and not?
Well, yeah, like I wouldn't be around people using in front of me. Cause it happened a couple times, and I quickly was able to get out of that situation. But just doing sketchy things for money and stuff like that. Yeah, the first couple years clean, that stuff was hard to drop, like the whole lifestyle.
Right.
Yeah, whenever I really found like my love for fitness and for lifting, a lot of that stuff changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a better outlet.
Yeah, like I think when you're just accustomed to a certain lifestyle, it's difficult to do anything else, even if you are, changing your habits and stuff like that. It's like what you know is what you know.
Yeah.
So, and that's interesting too, because I think a lot of people, they find fitness and they use that as their outlet. And these people with like extremely addictive personalities will be really successful in different fitness endeavors because, they're so dedicated and it's what they know. And they're still, I think, probably on some physiological level, the endorphin release and the high that
chasing that.
Yeah, chasing that high. All right, so then you got into curves, and then from curves was bodybuilding next?
Yeah, I never really did bodybuilding. I was interested in it enough to hire a coach and take steroids and shit like that, but I never followed through with doing a bodybuilding show. That was way too much work for what I had in me at the time.
Oh, okay. So you didn't actually do a show, but you got into...
Yeah, I just got into the lifestyle, the dieting, training like a bodybuilder.
Yep.
And
like isolation movements and body part days.
Yeah, and then I met this guy who was teaching me how to bench press on my chest day. He would bench with me, and he's a powerlifter. And that's how I found powerlifting.
So were you benching with that powerlifting style stance?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. So let me ask you this: when you got into the bodybuilding lifestyle, were you nervous about steroids because of the drug use past, or are they something you just look at separately?
I just, to me, that's not at all like a mind-altering substance. I'm sure at the level some people abuse it, for sure. Fuck, it can be mind-altering, but no, it never was anything like that for me. And I was excited about it because I was like a fucking junkie. And, an adrenaline fiend. And so whenever I found out, like, other girls were doing that and, the way they looked and the results they were getting, I was like, where do I fucking get this shit?
Right. Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons I think people get to gear in the first place is that it's like you're putting in all this work. You want to look like you put in all this work. Yeah. And that's like one of the first things you get.
Yeah.
And so that's interesting too for women. And I know you've talked about this with Meg Squats. I saw in her video and stuff. You guys did talk a little bit about steroid use for women specifically. But is there anything, I guess, blanket advice that you could give or would you tell women to stay away completely? Like, now that you've kind of been through the different cycles of it.
For sure. I would tell women to stay away completely. And if they're like banging down my door and, they absolutely have to, they're going to anyways. And it's like, okay, then take 10 milligrams of Anavar a day. Yeah. And don't ever do anything else. Okay. That would be my advice for women.
Yeah. Okay. So bodybuilding. And then how long did you kind of go down that road?
Not very long. I don't know, maybe 6 months or so. I was training like that, and then I found powerlifting. And a couple weeks after I found powerlifting, I still had like thousands of dollars invested in a personal trainer, where like I had to buy such a big package, and I still had like so many. I had just upped my package. I still had so many training sessions left, but I wanted to go to this powerlifting gym and train with this powerlifting coach. So I ended up like saying fuck it, and I walked away from it all. Like, I was coming from a personal trainer that like put chalk on my legs to deadlift. They did not know any better. Yeah. So I was just like, I need to get to this place. Here. So I went to the new place with the powerlifting coach, and like 2 weeks later, I did my first meet.
After starting powerlifting?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What did you do, raw or?
Well, yeah, I did. It's like the Canadian version of USAPL at the time, CPU.
Okay.
And at the time, it was only single ply. It was before raw was popular.
Okay.
So I didn't have single ply gear, so I competed raw with knee wraps in the single ply division. I mean, there was no divisions; it was just powerlifting, and you wore single ply gear.
Oh, okay.
In the IPF.
Okay.
And so, this was whenever they had the old weight classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did my first meet, and I went 9 for 9, and it was the best feeling ever. And
that was it.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Sold.
What were your numbers on this first meet? Do you remember?
My numbers were. Of course I remember. 198 squat, 148 bench, and 258 deadlift. My total was 604 at 148.
Okay, nice. And so how did that place you?
That qualified me for provincials, which was like the only reason why my coach wanted me to do the meet, because he was bringing a team to provincials, and they would go to...
provincials, is that nationals?
That's like states.
For states?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh-huh. Okay, yeah, Canadian provinces. Yeah. I'm ignorant. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving into bodybuilding, so you qualified for provincials 2 weeks in.
Moving into powerlifting.
Yeah, or moving into powerlifting. Yep.
Yeah.
And then how long did you have to train and get ready for that?
So I got all my single ply gear. I was committed to doing that and learning how to lift in gear. And then I went to Well, I was hanging out with these powerlifters who competed in multiply,
Mm-hmm.
at like non-tested federations. And and it was just way more fucking cool there. They were playing loud music at the meets. And, I didn't have to bench with my heels on the ground. I could bench on my toes. And there was just all these better rules. And it was way more intriguing to me.
Yeah.
And so I quickly switched over to multiply. So I never even did another meet with that coach. I started getting coached from the guys at Westside. And and I did a multiply meet.
Going into that meet, were they tested or not tested?
Into my first meet?
Yeah.
My first meet was tested, yes. So
okay.
I had been off for a while at that point, and my coach was like, whatever. And I think the way they test people is like a verbal questionnaire. Oh. And he's like, yeah, if you get pulled aside, just tell them the truth and tell them, like, yeah, I used to do shit and I don't anymore and whatever. I had gone off during that time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But now I think that's super fucking wrong to do. And I would never let anybody that I coach, like, go compete in a tested federation after they've ever taken gear.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know any better.
And so if you're a woman listening to this and you're like interested in getting into powerlifting, is there a federation, is there a class, like what would you kind of recommend for them?
Yeah, that just to go on the USPA website, because they have meets in every area, in every state pretty much.
Is that the biggest federation?
Yeah.
USPA? Okay.
Yeah. So USPA.net, and just look at the meet calendar, and then there should be like the meet directors. Maybe just call the meet directors and be like, hey, I'm interested in getting into powerlifting, and you're the the chairperson for my area or whatever. Like, do you know some other women I could call, or that you could hook me up with, or what are some gyms in the area? But that would be a good place to start. Okay.
The Raw, or do you think they should compete?
Yeah, I mean everything else is dead now. There's only Raw.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
There's a little bit of it that goes on the West Coast, but it's pretty much a joke. They don't do anything to proper standards, and all the records are pretty much bullshit, and nobody respects it anymore. So yeah, it's all Raw now.
Yeah, so that's kind of like part of the problem in me from an outsider looking in is I've done a little bit of strongman, CrossFit, and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But when I look at powerlifting, some of the complaints I hear is that different federations are not standardized.
Yeah.
And so you'll get a world record, and it's like, how do we know that the world record compares to what this record is?
Yeah, and there's and that's never gonna happen because there's so many federations. So that's why everybody's just kind of been moving over to like the USPA pretty much, because it's just. And
you see that like standardizing things as we like
definitely
go forward for powerlifting.
Like all the big meets now, the ones that matter, the ones that anybody cares about, the ones that are giving money. Actually, USPA doesn't really give money except for our meets.
Yeah.
But there are still some meets that give money, like for multiply on the East Coast. But like you see the records that are broken there, and even just in the backyard meets. And
yeah. And you said your meets give money. You put on powerlifting meets as well?
Yep.
Okay, so what? Like
every 3 or 4 months, we have one here at the gym, and we usually give cash.
Okay.
We usually give like $5,000 at our local meets, which is more than for most of the big meets.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we've got the US Open coming up. We're giving away $210,000.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of big lifters because of that?
Oh yeah.
Big name lifters.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because that's something that's interesting about you as well, as you're a pro strength athlete, but it's really hard to make money in powerlifting.
You got to become a coach. You got to, really sell yourself.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. I kind of want to get into that at the end, but so you got linked up with Westside?
Yep.
Okay, did you start?
I wasn't linked up with Westside. I was my ex-fiance is AJ Roberts. So I was never even welcome to train at Westside until like I got really strong.
Okay.
I wasn't good enough.
Right.
Even when I was just, AJ's girl, like so like Louis Simmons didn't know my name until I got a pro total. Pretty much.
Right.
Yeah. Even though I was like engaged to his strongest lifter at the time.
Yeah. So at the time, that's when AJ was
at the top. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but we weren't in Ohio for very long. We moved out here, and AJ retired from powerlifting and coached me. Mm-hmm. And then after I got better, then I started traveling back and going to lift at Westside.
Okay. With Louis. Is Westside what you do now?
Actually, I don't even powerlift right now, but I've also like taken stints of like doing more like combat style training and more muscle endurance work, and I've gone back to powerlifting, so I'm sure I will.
Yeah.
But that's how I coach all my lifters, using the Conjugate method.
Okay, yeah.
I do like my own like little spin on some of the things, like, but for the most part, yeah.
So what is Conjugate? Because I see CrossFitters using Conjugate. I think Sam Briggs made that kind of big at the beginning of her career. When CrossFitters do Conjugate, what is that?
So it's dynamic effort and maximum effort.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meaning what?
Meaning you're maxing out your central nervous system once a week for upper and for lower body.
And that's like finding a 1 rep max.
Yeah.
Okay.
But sometimes it could also be like finding a 3 rep max or a 5 rep max. Nothing is set in stone with Conjugate.
Mm-hmm.
All the special exercises, they're tailored for the athlete's weaknesses.
Okay.
And that's the nice thing about it, is that it doesn't have to be anything. It can be whatever you need it to be.
Okay. So would you recommend Conjugate for people that want to get into powerlifting?
Absolutely. It's pretty intimidating to start it though. Like, there's a lot of really, like, you got a gym. If you don't train in a proper gym, which most of my clients don't, they train at a regular 24-hour style gym. Mm-hmm. And so everything's Jimmy rigged.
Yeah.
And the setups get pretty complicated, but
because of bands and chains and that kind of a thing.
But it is definitely doable, even with just a straight bar and a couple pairs of bands.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I believe it's like the best way to train, and the only way to train if you want to stay injury free and if you want to stay in the sport a long time, continuing to make gains. It's the only way I've ever trained for powerlifting.
Okay. And are you familiar with 531 or any of those?
No,
things?
I'm not.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
so
because I've never.
Yeah.
I believe that Westside is the best, and
yeah. I think the record books probably agree.
Exactly. Yeah. I've never. It's like, why would I spend my time learning about a system that I'm never gonna fucking do, and I'll never have any of my clients do it. I mean, if it was the best way to train, the best lifters in the world would be using that system.
For sure. How can people get involved in following Westside? Or do they need a coach? Or they need to come somewhere like this?
You can buy books and read about it, but especially for raw lifters, that stuff's not necessarily going to have the best carryover for you if you just read the books, because it was really the program was made to cater to geared lifters. Okay. Tons of box squats, only box squats.
Yep.
So we do a ton of free squatting as well. So you can contact me at dcspack@gmail.com, and we can send you info on joining the DCS Pack. And yeah.
And that's what is the DCS
That's my powerlifting
Pack?
team. Decide, commit, succeed.
Okay, nice. Yeah. And they're not just local to
exactly.
San Diego?
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Oh, okay, so anybody can.
Yeah, anybody can reach out, and we've got specials going on all the time, and it's a really awesome team environment where all the guys are together and all the girls are together.
Okay.
So especially the women, like, it gets pretty personal, and like everybody gets to know each other really well. They all come out here a couple times a year, and we do huge meets together. Like the meets that I put on, we pretty much just fill a roster with all Packsters. It's fucking cool.
Oh, nice.
And so we have big parties, and people who are introvert as fuck,
yeah.
like, and we're all like that, but we all like are friends with each other, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think being a part of a community if you like really want to get somewhere with fitness is like, essential.
Yeah.
Just to push yourself and be around like-minded people that push themselves.
They're all held super accountable. They all have to post one video a week of all their training, and it works really good.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for a long time now. Yeah.
Nice. So people that are part of the DCS Pack, what do they get, and do they pay a monthly fee?
Yeah, they pay a monthly fee.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually around $150 a month, but we like have specials a lot. We'll do like 3 months for $300 or $100 a month, stuff like that.
Yep.
But yeah, usually it's $150 a month, and they get programming once a week.
Okay.
And then they upload their videos once a week in the group. I watch the videos, and everybody else watches the videos too, and everybody will give their feedback.
Yep.
Because I don't always catch everything.
Yep.
And then that's how it works.
Where did so you got involved with Westside, and then you were engaged to AJ, and he was coaching. Mm-hmm. Where did I
wasn't really involved with Westside. I was, training.
Well, training Westside method. Sorry, and I know that's actually a distinction because it's people that just follow Westside and people that go to Westside. Yeah. That's a big difference.
Well, not many people go to Westside. It's like 10 people.
Right. And if you're lucky enough to get coached under Louis,
yeah.
Where did your powerlifting career go from there?
From there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just continued getting better and better and better. And every meet I did, I beat my numbers from the last meet.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty simple.
What was like the biggest meet that you did?
Well, in 2006, I had 2 meets where I went 9 for 9.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, last year was my best year for powerlifting. That's when I was like, okay, I've hit all the numbers I wanted to hit. I'm going to take a little break now.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a raw meet.
Mm-hmm.
I squatted 400 raw, bench 225, and deadlifted 440. And then I did, a couple months later, I did a geared meet.
Okay.
And I squatted 512, bench 297, and pulled 490.
What was the
1,300.
body weight?
148.
148.
For both, yeah.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, so those were my best meets. I mean, I've competed on bigger stages. I've competed at the York Barbell Weightlifting Hall of Fame a couple times. And then my raw meet was at the LA Fit Expo.
Okay.
I've competed in some really big meets, but those were my best numbers.
Nice. Yeah. And so after that, you kind of hit a point where you were ready to transition into more coaching, or?
Yeah, I really just wanted to focus on growing the gym. Like we've had the gym now, Russell and I, for like 2 years, but I was like running the pack, coaching like almost 100 lifters, doing my own programming, competing myself, and it was just like time to put the gym first for a little bit and grow this, and especially focus on the US Open this year. That's been my biggest focus.
The US Open is the meet that you're putting on in Del Mar.
Yeah.
Okay. When is that?
April 15th and 16th. It's Easter weekend.
Okay, cool.
3 weeks out, yeah.
Nice. Where do people go to register for that?
Well, it's invite only, so you can't just register for it.
Okay.
But they can buy tickets for a live stream or to come in person at cetcusopen.com. That's cetcusopen.com.
You're going to have some big lifters at that one.
We're going to have the best lifters from Russia, Ukraine, all like the best lifters from the USA. Andre Milanichev will be there, Zahir, just Larry Wheels, all the best lifters that you can think of. They'll all be lifting in this meet.
Nice.
Yeah.
What does your training look like now?
Right now, I'm doing like a lot more cardio and combat style, like muscle endurance training. This morning, I did a Bulgarian bag workout with some rope climbs.
Yep.
And yeah, that's what my training is looking like now. Just getting shredded for the summer.
Yeah. Why are you like adding cardio? And so like powerlifters notoriously hate cardio.
Yeah, no, it's
Nice.
been super fun. Really a lot more rewarding than powerlifting has been.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because like after all the years of like training to be strong, like, okay, I'm strong.
Yep.
And
Right.
it's like either I'm strong enough to hit the numbers or I'm not. Like I know what I'm capable of. But this stuff, like your mind can hold you back a lot, and your mind, like you can really use your mind to push your body, and it's really cool, like tapping into that and really pushing yourself farther than you ever thought possible. I had a coach behind you there, Stephen Nave, the one standing up. He was a career SEAL and then taught at Buds.
Okay.
And he died last year. And last time I did like a little combat training stint, he was coaching me, and it's like some of the hardest training I've ever done in my life, and really taught me a lot about mental toughness, which has helped me this time around doing it. And it's been really fun, and I'm just really enjoying it right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's cool. I taught at Buds for like 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And we've done a few different podcasts on like mental toughness and that kind of a thing.
What's your background?
Military.
Yeah.
Yep. And now I'm transitioning out and doing this
Cool.
shit full time.
Nice.
Are there ways that, or working with your old coach, are there ways that you would program mental toughness into your workouts? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And no, I haven't even thought about that yet. Like my husband is so fucking tough mentally. Like he just doesn't even know how to quit. Like he can.
Yeah.
And like he could be like spitting blood and like literally dying.
Yep.
And so I don't have any ideas for that, but I'd love to talk to you after if you had some ideas for us.
Yeah, absolutely. What I do is when I work with people that are interested in doing something like that, and actually I kind of do this for regular people as well, is what I like to do is once probably a month, I'll program a workout that is not super technique intensive. That way if form breaks down, you don't run into like, joint issues and that kind of a thing. But I try to program it so the workout looks like way fucked up.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it looks like I'm not going to finish this.
Yeah.
And the reason being is you want something that doesn't have a neurological demand. Like you wouldn't want to do snatches. And that's why people sometimes have a problem with CrossFit is they'll do 150 snatches. And it's like at that point your form's breaking down and you have these joint issues and structure problems. But what I like to do is I'll program a workout with a lot of air squats, swimming, running, pull-ups, push-ups. The things they're going to do in an environment like that where you can get away with like really pushing the envelope on reps. And then you can kind of find out like what kind of person they are. Like, are you that kind of person that gets in a situation where it looks like there's no way I'm going to be able to finish this? And then you fold inward and you break down and you're like, fuck it.
Or that's the kind of shit that this guy had me do.
Yeah.
Like he used to like give me workouts that like he never even would actually make me do. Just like think I had to do them. Yeah. And I would be like, there's no way I can do that, And he really broke me down a lot and built me back up. Yeah, sometimes we would get the students thinking we were gonna do this like ridiculous workout at the end of the day. Yeah. And then we would leave and then we would wait like 3 minutes and people would come quit because they were like,
fuck this, I'm not going back in.
Yeah.
Especially after a whole day of like working really hard. But that's kind of, that's the point of a selection. That's the point of a lot of this, is you want to know like what kind of human are you? Are you the kind that gets in this like really adverse situation and folds in and you're like, I'm fucking out of here?
Yeah.
Or you're the kind of person that gets kicked in the nuts over and over and is like, oh, another please, and just keeps moving forward.
Yeah.
So, and there's probably a decent amount of mental toughness as far as, I mean, going into powerlifting, like the abuse, I think, you have to be mentally tough from the beginning. Yeah, it takes a really
fucked up person to be a powerlifter, honestly. Like, every single person I coach, they have got some fucking fucked up story. Yeah. Like, I've got one, and, like, everybody has one that I coach. Like, it really takes a sick person to be
Why do you think
be a successful powerlifter because of, like, the abuse and the wear and tear, and it's not fun, and it hurts, and it sucks, and, but we push ourselves
the day
and
in,
continue.
day out grind.
Yeah,
and I think that's part of it, too, is it's, okay, so you'll have to run and swim, and you'll have to do obstacle courses, and you'll have to do a certain amount of didactic classwork, and there'll be something for everyone, right? So maybe you're a good runner but not a good swimmer, like that was my thing in training, or whatever it is. There'll be something for everyone, but usually everyone can do every part of it. If you're so weak that you can't even finish a swim, then obviously you're gonna weed yourself out fast. But it's not really that. It's not the one thing that gets people. It's the grind every single day. Yeah. It's like going in on, it's waking up, re-breaking all of those chafing scabs that are going to tear in the morning. And it's just like doing that over and over. And I'd imagine that's the same with powerlifting. Like, you can get strong, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you can get strong to a certain point, but, it really takes a long grind to build strength.
Exactly. It's a marathon, they say, it's not a sprint, and it's true. And you got to be patient and stick with it for fucking years. Yeah. And even if you try and take the shortcuts and take shit and, it takes a long time.
You mean like steroids, like shit to get stronger faster.
Exactly. It still is going to take a long time, and you got to just put in the work and continue putting in the work.
Yeah. And that's why I think even CrossFitters, they say like, cardio, you can get your Metcon up in a decent amount, like a shorter amount of time. But what they'll do is they'll focus on strength most of the year, and then going into the open season, like we're in now, like a few months before, they'll just start sprinkling in those Metcons and building the heart rate stuff in and trying to get.
Yeah, because like you said, like somebody can get conditioned pretty fast, but to get strong, it takes a long time.
So, are you doing the CrossFit Open this year?
Yeah.
How's that going?
It's okay. I'm doing it like scaled.
It's your first year doing it? Okay. Very cool.
Last year I did the first workout and quit like 5 minutes in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like, fuck this. I'm not cut out for this.
Yeah.
And this year I did the first one, and it was like a really good workout because I was already training like that. I'm like, oh, I'll do it. It'll be a really good workout. And it was a really good workout. I actually like redid it. And then the other ones, I'm like, well, fuck it. I might as well just like, do it every week. I own a CrossFit gym.
Right. Do you have a CrossFit component to California Elite Training Center as well?
Yeah. CrossFit DCS.
Oh, okay. And you guys have a decent amount of people that come here just for CrossFit
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Do you program the powerlifting side?
Yes.
Okay. And do you program the CrossFit side as well? Okay.
No. For a while, we were doing Conjugate, and our classes are an hour and a half long. They still are. But we're not really doing Conjugate anymore on the CrossFit side. We're just kind of getting everybody ready for the Open. But we do like a cycle of Conjugate every year where like they're doing power lifts with the bands and chains and learning box squats and stuff like that.
Oh, nice. So it's obviously not individual programming.
That's right.
Okay, so you have everybody doing the same kind of template?
They're all doing the same thing, but we're watching all their videos, and we'll accessorize like certain weaknesses for people. Like if there's a glaring weakness, they'll swap out a couple things and just do like 3 or 4 like more tricep things on these days, or more good mornings for some people. And we just see it's nice because there's so many people, so we can compare lifters. Like, okay, if these guys have the same bench press, but whenever we use a football bar, this guy's smoking you by 40 pounds, but you bench and comp the same weight. Like, well, the other guy has like obviously a glaring weakness in his triceps, and then we'll, it's really easy to find weaknesses whenever like there's people to compare and stuff. So we will, then add in extra work for that other person. So yeah, that's how we individualize it. If they need parts brought up, then we'll just do that, and we do that on their videos that they post.
Okay, so you have the everyone does the same kind of template, but then you program specifically to help individual weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. If it's needed. And honestly, we cover so much in our accessories, like such a variety, that until they really get to a higher level, it's not really needed.
Okay.
Sometimes it is, but for the most part, what I've seen over the years is that they can all get away doing most of the same stuff but I call all their numbers. Like, I give them exact numbers to hit too. They're not like doing percentage work or anything like that. They might start off like a wave with percentages, but I call all their numbers, and we don't really give a shit about percentages. We might use percentages just to ballpark on where to start off with something, but we all always go off bar speed.
And is that available to the online clients as well?
Yeah, they get the same thing as the gym members get.
Okay.
So we're watching all their videos. I'm calling all their numbers every single week for the following week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I've had I was coached by OPT for a while for CrossFit. Mm-hmm. The problem I would run into is like I would be broken down in a certain area, and I would come up and I'd be like, so like my shoulders, let's say, it would hurt, right? Mm-hmm. And I'd be like, well, I've got 95 push press or whatever it is today reps. Do you ever run into stuff like that, or is it targeted enough individually that you get around that?
Like to work around injuries, you mean? Or
or just like individual.
I mean, we're not really getting broken down the way like a CrossFitter is. Like, they shouldn't be sore. They have 72 hours, in between each lower body day and 72 hours in between each upper body day. Oh, they do. So they're pretty recovered by the time we get back to doing upper body or lower body.
Okay.
So that doesn't run in a lot. Like, obviously, people will get injured, and then we'll, substitute exercises out or whatever. Yeah. Or like lifters will text me and say like, oh, my tendonitis is flaring up bad. I just started benching, and I'll be like, okay, do this, and stuff.
Yeah. So that's worth noting too, is you just don't have to get the sheer volume in powerlifting that you get with CrossFit. You have so many disciplines.
I mean, some people do it, but we don't really need to. Not the way we train.
How many days a week do you think powerlifters need to train?
4 days a week.
Okay. And so I'm assuming you're hitting each of the 3 lifts.
Variations of the lifts.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. We'll bench twice a week.
Okay.
One for speed, one heavy day. Uh-huh. And then we will do a variation of a lower body movement for a heavy rep or a 3 rep, usually a 1 rep max. It'll alternate back and forth between squats and deadlifts. So, and maybe once in a while we'll do a good morning also, and then we'll squat once a week. So
what is your...
So we might not deadlift at all some weeks, but usually we do.
What's your reason for hitting bench twice?
Because it's the only upper body movement, like in competition. Like, we have 2 for lower body, but for upper body we only have 1, and we have that dynamic day and the max effort day. So we don't have to alternate through, like, we don't compete in the overhead press, let's say, so we don't have to like rotate that into the max effort because we only compete with bench press for upper body. So we just focus on that.
Okay. And so, because you find that like working on your deadlift also helps bring up your squat and that kind of a thing, or do you disagree with that?
Yeah, of course. Everything is going to complement each other. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we don't deadlift to work on our squat. We do accessories to build our erectors and our hamstrings, our glutes to work on our squat.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just interested in some of the intricacies, because there's like, I think there's certain lifters that have done or coaches that have done a really good job of setting them. And I saw that setting themselves above, and I saw that I think you were I saw you post something about being like one of the only women nominated for Coach of the Year. What was that through?
Yeah, that was Powerlifting Watch. It's like the only powerlifting website, really. It's like a news site for powerlifting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How can people go vote for you for that?
They can just go to powerliftingwatch.com. I think it's still running. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of these intricacies I'm curious about, just because I'm wondering like what is it that separates people? Why should they come pay for?
Yeah, I mean,
DCS Pack versus
the proof is in the pudding. Like there's nothing like what we have. Like there's nothing out there like what we have. Like within the pack, like the camaraderie and like the Facebook groups we have and how things work, and there's nothing like that,
Yeah.
I don't know of any other powerlifting team like that where they have like reunions a couple times a year.
Yeah.
Do
you have people come in from all over?
Oh yeah. Like really? We just had a meet in February. We had 40 packsters do it. And people flew in from all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
One girl loved it so much she just moved here. Now she's working for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, that's cool.
Yeah, we got girls came in from Texas, Kansas, Northern California, all over the place. And starting out, what I did to set myself apart, I would go to all the handle my lifters at all the meets, and I would like group up the ones that would be like in the surrounding states. Like within a driving distance, they would all do the same meets, so that because it's expensive to fly and go handle your lifters at meets for an online coach. But that's, you want to make an experience for them, and that's the experience I made for them.
Okay.
that's what they're going to remember.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's how they're going to get that pack atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you have made a living doing what you love. It's safe to say, right?
Yeah, absolutely. A good living. Yeah.
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 For somebody that, and we could maybe talk powerlifting, but you know, I think there's a lot of CrossFitters out there. There's people that ride dirt bikes. Like there's people that are just into stuff and they're trying to figure out like how they can make a living. And what's really cool about what you've done is powerlifting isn't something that people make a living at very often.
Yeah.
Right. So like, as far as like, I don't know, people looking to make a living out of what their love is, is there any advice that you have for them, or like, how have you done it?
Yeah, I mean, you have to offer some kind of an experience that other people aren't offering, because nowadays, like when I first started online coaching, like it wasn't like what it is now.
Right.
You know, Instagram, maybe I had a couple hundred followers on Instagram. Like,
yep.
Instagram wasn't super big or anything like that. So you just have to really build an experience that is unmatched, that people won't find somewhere else, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You got to be willing to do stuff that other coaches aren't willing to do. And yeah, I think it's really all about the experience. That's what people are going to remember. That's what people pay for. It's how you make people feel, like doing the sport that they love. Like, so that's how, because with competition now, like online and social media, it's really hard to do this. And
yeah, I mean, it's crowded.
It's like good fucking luck. That's the advice I have for them. Really, you know, it's really crowded. It's, you know, it's really hard, but also you can really use like all those tools to promote yourself. And yeah, you just have to make a plan and stick to it. You got to make a plan of action, like for everything in life. Like you can get through fucking anything. You can come out on top of anything if you really have a good plan of action, you know? Get help making it, you know, everybody knows really smart people, you know, and just make a plan of action and stick to it. And that would be my advice. I mean,
yeah, I mean, every Instagram model now has a templated program you can go on and buy. Yeah. And I think it's showing because there's so goddamn many of those now. Yeah. So the above and beyond for you is like really what you put into the pack members and like the stuff that you talked about. Yeah. When it comes to taking action and making a plan, what is your kind of process there? Do you like actually write shit down, or like
I usually like have meetings. Like I have like a full staff, you know, I've got a full-time assistant, a coach that runs the gym, my business partner who's a super fucking intelligent man, business wise, you know. Yeah. He was like a brain surgeon before he was 30 years old. Some really smart people in my corner that have helped me, like so yeah, I just sit down with these people and we just make a plan. Like, yeah, we write shit down and we figure out, okay, what are the steps and who's going to do what? Are we going to delegate stuff out, and what do we got to do to get there?
What about at the very beginning though, when you were trying to, you know, make a name for yourself as a coach and that kind of thing?
You just got to pick up one client at a time, and that's how it works, and get testimonials. Yeah. Yeah. And that was kind of your process. Yeah. And I know, I mean, AJ he's a business guru too, right? Yeah, exactly. He was the one that pushed me, you know, to do this. Yeah. And yeah, it's really hard, like making that first step and like putting yourself out there, like asking people for money. Like it was a huge thing for me.
And what do you mean, like investments or?
No, like you know, saying this is what I'm offering, this program, like this is what it costs. Anybody want to pay me for it? Like, right. You know, making that like first
actually
post.
Taking money from people.
Yeah, like because I was helping people for free forever. Yep. Before I started charging. But as soon as you get your first client, that really helps a lot with the confidence. And then once you get your second client, then it's like, okay, this is what I do now.
Yeah, that's worth noting too, is if you want to make a living doing something that you love, you're going to have to be entrepreneurial in that. Yeah. And one of the big things, at least I've found in my own like entrepreneurial journey, is like your relationship with money and like actually taking money from people. Yeah. Like I'm that kind of person that's like, I would rather pay the tab 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, me too.
Shut the fuck up and like.
Yeah, I don't even want it to be a thing. I'll just pay for it. That's,
yeah. Yeah. See, and you have to figure out a way to break that paradigm.
Yeah, and like we didn't have a lot of money growing up, you know. We're like family of 6, and like my parents worked hard and stuff, so like we never like could afford like really nice things, and if we wanted like nice clothes, we had to go out and get a job and get it for ourselves. So I've always had this like weird like relationship with money where it's like I feel like there's not going to be enough or something, you know. So I really want to fucking hustle and like save, just put it all away and like sit on it. Yeah, and it's nice to not have money worries today because I've worked so hard. Right. Like, I just bought a Lexus a couple weeks ago. Saw that. And
that's awesome.
Fuck, life is good. I don't have to worry about that shit anymore.
Yeah, and I think it's the same thing like with people that have a business idea, you can tell at first they're like, oh, I don't want to tell people my idea. And you just realize how ridiculous that is because it doesn't matter at all. Like it's ideas are, everyone's got a fucking good idea. Yeah. And it's like, can you execute on that idea or not? Mm-hmm. So yeah, just kind of coming up with that or like figuring out a way to foster that abundance mentality with money, with your ideas. Yeah. Like to grow as a person, you have to figure out a way to tap into that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do believe like a lot in like the power of like positive thinking. And yeah, I think that mental attitude has a huge part in it, the kind of person you hang out, the kind of people you hang out with, and the attitude that you have. If you're always saying fuck this and fuck that and looking for the bad and everything and gossiping a lot, it's really going to weigh you down a lot and keep you wherever you're at for a long time.
Yeah, you'll find. I mean, you get what you're looking for, right? And it's like what you expect. Even like the world just has a really good way of giving you exactly what you deserve. Yeah. And if you have that like shitty attitude about things, like you are. I don't know. I think it's
you really get stuck.
You do. Yeah. You get stuck. And if you are, and people that don't know what they want to do, and people that are looking to create more for themselves or figure out what it is they're into, a lot of times the thing that you need to do is actually just move forward, just through exploration of like exploring different things you're into and being open to different experiences. You'll figure out more of what you like, what you're good at, and then you kind of double down on those efforts. And it seems like that's a lot of what you've done is you've just like. By the time once you got clean, it was like, all right, wanted to get into fitness. So you just went and started exploring. Yeah. And then that opened up the bodybuilding door.
Yeah. That's just like the kind of person I am. Like once I have like, I don't just get interested in stuff, I have to like jump all in with 2 feet. And that's what's helped me like in this world, because you have to just be fucking going for it. Cause there's like other people that are, and I go up and grab that shit. But
well, I think that's just the point is like forward progress.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time like personal training in the gym and really hustling, like working really long hours and doing anything like not just like online coaching, but wherever I could make money, like doing Skype sessions and like giving people like fitness advice, even if they didn't want to, like always having something to offer them, like always trying to hustle and try to make money like any way I could. And then like I finally got to a place where I was like, okay, I didn't have to like be in the gym coach like whenever I got this gym, whenever we opened up California Elite, like I didn't have to be training people anymore, but for like a long time, like the hustle was real. It still is. Like I'm just hustling on different things now, Yeah. But yeah, it's like if you're willing to really work and not sleep a lot and it might not always pay off in the beginning, you might be working for free. Yep. But it's all about getting your name out there and knowing the right people. Yeah. Definitely about knowing the right people.
I mean, your network and your net worth are very related. Yeah. So if you're listening to this and it's easy to get into the mentality of like, okay, so people probably follow you on Facebook or Instagram and they're like, well, yeah, of course, Gracie V has a successful, coaching program. She has 1,000, whatever followers. Like she has 1 million followers. Of course they're going to, but they don't understand all of the Skype sessions that you had to do and all of the free training.
I actually had all those. I had almost 100 people in my pack, which is about what I have now. It pretty much like stays like around there. Yep. Before I ever even had like 10,000 followers on Instagram, like, it does help like get my name out there and stuff, but it's really about word of mouth and what you're offering the clients that you have. Mm-hmm. And who are they going to tell about you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's years of bringing value where that payoff isn't there. Mm-hmm. And you just keep doing it because you need to. And, exactly. Kind of get to where you're at, hopefully. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So the final question is the Lionheart kicker. We try to give this on every episode. If you could give advice and every single person in the world was guaranteed to hear that advice, they probably won't all follow it, but you could give it, what would that advice be?
I would just say like what I said earlier about making a plan of action. I truly believe that anybody can change their life around if they have a plan of action and actually fucking stick to it. Yeah, just make a plan. Whenever you get fucked over or, whenever you want shit to change, you need to make a plan of action and stick to it. Mm-hmm. And that's really my advice. Like that has been my advice for training, life, like everything. Like that's really got me out of a lot of really tough situations in my life where I thought there was no way out of. Yeah. And it was actually one of my sponsors in NA. I was going through a really shitty time.
And that's like Narcotics Anonymous.
Yeah. Yep. And my sponsor was like, okay, that's fine. Everything's going to be okay. We're just going to make a plan of action.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like so collected about it, so calm. I was like, okay. And then ever since then, that's, yeah. And then that's why I named my pack DCS, Decide, Commit, Succeed. And that, like, just really commit to your plan, you know?
Yeah. I think that's badass that's been a theme from getting clean all the way to, you know, this highly successful.
Yeah, it was another sponsor in Narcotics Anonymous, my first sponsor, Don, who told me Decide, Commit, Succeed, and I just stuck. I wrote it on my fridge, and now it's the name of one of my gyms and my team.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Awesome. Well, how can people follow along? Well, first, do you have anything coming up that you want people to know about? We talked about the Open.
Yeah, we talked about the US Open. Just check that out on Instagram, on the website. It's CETC US Open on Instagram, and same as the website. You guys, if you guys are in San Diego, you definitely want to buy tickets now online because there is a limit to the venue and it will sell out. So tickets won't be available online after it's sold out or in person. And that's in Del Mar. Yeah. Yep. At the racetrack. And so that's April 15th, 16th this year. And then we've got the DCS Pack Open May 6th. A couple weeks after that, that's going to be here at California Elite Training Center. So if you're new to powerlifting, you want to come check that out, come check it out. Nice. And how can people, I know we talked about people, they can join the DCS Pack. How can people follow along with you and support what you're doing? Yeah, they can follow me on Instagram at Gracie Vanasse. And just want to also put it out there that we accept people of all levels in the pack, you know? Even if you're never even thinking about competing and you just want to lose weight, get more confident, whatever, like everybody starts somewhere, and there's people of all different experience levels in our group that, you know, some people have never even lifted before, and we scale everything back and they can start from scratch. And yeah, so it's really for everybody. Yeah, I'll double down on that too. It's like I've competed in a lot of different endeavors, and having a community to help kind of push you, guide you, keep you accountable as you try to progress. And then the other thing is having people at different skill levels within that community. It gives you a resource to pull from. Yeah. And that is like priceless. You cannot put a price on someone who's been there and done it. Yeah. And can kind of give you that. Yeah, it's that really advice. Cool. So yeah, that's basically it. Awesome. Well, thanks for being on. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to Lionheart Radio. Subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. And don't forget to give us a 5-star rating for all of your supplement needs. And for show notes, visit luavive.com.